was quite controversial. He said what he thought. He was true to himself and behaved how he would normally behave when he was at home. Whether you liked him or not, I thought he was a good asset within the camp. I mean, I'm not saying £500,000 worth.
Hello, welcome back to Jungle Confidential, the Mail's podcast and your place to hear all of the I'm A Celeb gossip. Today, I'm joined by 2011 contestant Fatima Whitbread. Morning, Fatima.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the viewing, and it's been quite fun, really. Nice, interesting characters on there. It's a good blend.
I mean, the one thing, I've really enjoyed it, and obviously I've watched every minute of every episode. One thing that strikes me, we're now left with one woman and yes. I think 5 white men. Now, we've obviously there's been some sort of accusations of sexism and racism this week. I mean, it's not really, I mean, you obviously, as you were the last woman, weren't you, when you were...
I was the last woman standing, yes. And,
you were indeed.
We had some very good contestants that year as well. Obviously, Dougie Pointer from McFly and also Mark Wright. So all the teeny boppers obviously follow the big following for those two guys. So it was always going to be a difficult one, with turning, the corner with that. But I think this year it could well do. And then we could see a woman winning this. I think Jill's very worthy of it.
Yeah, she was a star last night, wasn't she? I mean, why do you think, I guess in your year, Dougie Pointer, I mean, the McFly following is massive, isn't it? I mean, they've just got so many fans, and Mark Wright has obviously got lots of people swooning over him.
That's right.
I mean, what do you think? Why do you think we've ended up in this situation this year? I mean, we lost Charlene and Scarlett and Sue really early on.
Yeah, which was a shame, really, because I thought those 3 girls were really good. Charlene stayed true to herself. I thought she handled it extremely well as a presenter, and she took the time to ask some poignant questions of Matt. And I thought that was really, really good. And also Scarlett, full of fun, life and soul of the camp. So I was surprised that she went too. And of course, Sue. I mean, what a girl she is. I mean, at the end of the day, I think. And she's like everybody's mum within the camp. So I was, disappointed that she went as well. So for Jill, I mean, it's kind of lonely in there, I guess, as the last woman standing. Although if I look back, I didn't feel like that myself. I mean, I was just amongst friends, and I think Jill feels that too. And I think that why it's been a little bit diluted is that characters, although I think Boy George was another one that spoke out and was quite true to himself. I've looked on online social media. He got a bit of a slating, but I don't know really why. In terms of he was true to himself. He's been asked into the jungle like all of us, and he did, I think, a really reasonably good job. I mean, let's face it, it's so easy for us to all sit back in our armchairs, stuffing our face with crisp and chocolate and fizzy drinks, but when you're in the jungle, it's quite a surreal experience. You're in extreme conditions there. I mean, you have all your tools removed in terms of being able to communicate with loved ones, having your own items in there as well. I mean, you're not allowed to move out that camp in that confined area, so there's no way of getting away from it if you do need a bit of space to think for yourself. So I think, in all, I think they're doing well, considering.
So you refer to it being difficult, that somebody being in there, it's difficult for these campmates. I mean, so I presume you're talking about Matt Hancock there.
Well, Matt's done a great job, but I would have to say that I'd question why ITV brought him in, apart from the viewing figures, only in as much that it's quite an emotive subject, and I do feel that the past few years have been quite a traumatic, life-changing experience for many people. And there are 2 areas here, really. Some would say, yes, you've got to give people a second chance, which I don't disagree with. But at the same time, rubbing salt into the wounds so soon after is quite hard, a bitter pill to swallow for many people who lost loved ones and were, abiding by the rules. And I think it's unfortunate. This subject, it's always going to raise its head, and there's always going to be those that bat for and bat against. And my opinion on that really is very much for the masses and the people being, having been through the last 2 years, traumatic years, having to sort of face that on a nightly experience, which would drag out quite a lot of emotions for a lot of people. Yes, he has done exceptionally well, but I also question the fact, and I probably would have asked this question: why would you feel the need to have to go into the jungle to do that? His wife and his family, is also suffering on a level, I'm sure. And to have to see that on a daily basis, I would have thought was quite traumatic for them and for the children. So sometimes you have to look at the whole picture, and there are sacrifices to be made. Sometimes you have to realize that this isn't the right thing to do. And I would question whether or not he actually did that.
I think the fact that ITV have done this, there has been quite a lot of criticism aimed at them over it. And I think I agree, ITV do have form for chasing the ratings, that's for sure. It feels like both the audience, the viewers at home, and the campmates have been put in a very difficult position, haven't they?
Yes. But I have, obviously. If I can only speak for myself, if I was there, I would have to be true to myself, and I would definitely want to ask certain questions of him. And I'd also ask why it would have been that he felt the need to have to go in there, because there are other people that are suffering. It's not all about oneself, is it? And yes, we all want to be our authentic selves and try to show people that we are not that character that's been betrayed, but at the same time, there's a time and a place for everything, and honor in my book is everything. And as I said before, you have to think about the people around you.
So he has turned things around in there, really, quite surprisingly. I think a lot of people thought he would be first out. He was obviously voted in to do all those trials at the beginning. There is a chance that he could get to the final here. How would you feel about that?
It's all in the edit, as far as I understand. The public, I don't think, I'm not sure why Scarlett and Sue went so early, because I thought they were doing quite well. But having said that, that's the name of the game. You never know what's going to happen. So quite obviously, with the way things are panning out, it could well be that we do see Matt in the last four. At the end of the day, I feel that the public, yes, they have a vote, but they're only voting on what the edit is. So let's hope, that the last woman standing comes home Queen of the Jungle, because that's my chosen favourite for this year.
Too. I just think she's so wonderful, isn't she? She's so funny. She was great last night, wasn't she, when they were making their food?
Tonight's meal we're going to call Ed Sheeran because it's ginger hair.
Oh, she's a legend. She won the Euros obviously with her teammates. What is it? What is it about her that you think people love?
Well, she's just a natural lass, isn't she? She's there's no airs or graces about her. What you see, what you get. And I think with Jill, she's been passionate about her sport. They've gone all the way. The girls, the Lionesses, they've done fantastic. No doubt she's in her own personal life has had to deal with lots of issues and traumas, like we all do. And yet she's remained, I think, a solid, true to herself person. And I think she's more a people's person than a celebrity, and she'll become a bigger celebrity for this, and one that will be much loved.
So obviously you were there till the end. Were you there till the last day, or did you go the day before?
Sadly for me, I was into more or less the last day. They sometimes come in twice in the day before the last day, and they came in the morning and removed. I think it was I can't remember who was fourth, and then they came back in within a couple of hours, and then I was removed. So yeah, I mean, I did well. I was happy with my placing, and given that, as I say, two really great lads in Dougie Pointer and Mark Wright, I think, an old biddy like me did quite well, really.
Last night, and now I really don't like Chris Moyles. I've been quite open about that. I just can't stand him. I don't know why he's still in there. I can't understand why he's still in there. Now, last night he really did make a real boo-boo, didn't he, with the Adele question? That they were asked what the combined age of Adele's albums would be. Chris Moyles was asked to answer this, given he's a music expert, a radio DJ. He got it completely wrong, didn't he? And that meant they lost their treats.
Oh yeah.
Now, when somebody comes back, or when somebody fails at a task or answers a question wrong like that, and obviously the repercussions on the campmates are massive, because you don't get your food, and we all know how important food is in there. Do you feel? I mean, is there anger? I mean, there's obviously hunger in there because everyone's hungry. But are you like, oh, for God's sake?
I think we all realise that we're in this boat together, and any one of us could go out on a trial or a challenge like that and foul, and you'd hope that people would accept and be kind to you when you got back. But as days go by, and I think they've been eating quite well, to be honest. So there shouldn't really be too much anger or hanger in the camp. But I've known to been in there and had 4 days without food, and then you do see people getting quite tetchy about stuff, about how they boil the water and the rice and different, not winning a challenge, doesn't it?
Indeed. I mean, you said you went 4 days without food. I mean, how on earth?
Yeah.
I mean, we're watching poor little Owen really struggle, aren't we, with no food.
Big lad, young man needs to eat, yeah, and no doubt is used to eating quite large amounts as well. And he's lovely to, I mean, he's eye candy, isn't he? He's lovely to look at in camp. So it's a shame that his sort of body is now going a little bit scrawny, if I can say that. But I say that as somebody who appreciates a good physique. But that's largely due to the fact because he's not getting the food that he is, and he's not able to exercise in the gym that he normally does. But hunger really is based on, if you are exercising and you're working a lot during the day, then you need to eat. If you're not working as much, the body will start to eat, and you're not eating and you're not exercising, you don't need as much. Surprisingly enough, you can get away with quite a lot, because at some point or some stage there will be someone winning stars and you will get something. I think what I used to do is I used to keep a little bit of food and put it in my soap box. So if I had a bit of meat, I wouldn't eat it all in one go. I'd keep some back for the next day just in case. I'd nibble out in the morning, keep my metabolism booted up so that I was able to be at the ready if I was asked to do a challenge or a trial of some sort. Because I think that's the thing with Owen. I mean, he's young, so he should get away with it. And your body has got a lot of storage, so it uses the food that it has in its own self. Our body's quite unique like that. It's amazing thing that happens. It stores foods in different places. So the fats and the saturates and that, it's all there for you, the sugars. So if you're not eating natural foods, then obviously the body will start to eat itself, the storage, what it's got in its own storage cupboards.
The other day you got a mention, didn't you, by Ant and Dec, about your famous cockroach moment?
That was the cockroach, I mean, that went into Jill's ear, I think was unfortunate, but very, very easy to get out. Dr. Bob got them out with tweezers. The problem I had with the cockroach that went up my nose was it wasn't up just the nose, it went to the back and sat in the ledge behind the nose. So I could feel these furry little legs moving about.
Up there? You could feel it at the oh my goodness.
Right in the back of my head. It felt like it was, it doesn't matter if I snorted, coughed, blew my nose. I had 3 syringes. It took 40 minutes for that little devil to come out.
So how did they get it out? Well, how did that happen? What happened?
They kept pumping, doctor kept pumping up the solution, 3 attempts, 3 big vials of solution of water. In the end, I think the poor little fella must have been drowning up there, you know. But it was almost like when I felt his little furry legs, it was like someone had shaken up a fizzy can of drink, and it had exploded every time he was moving or trying to grasp onto the edges of the bridge of my nose at the back.
I mean, do you feel like the challenges of the Bush Tucker trials haven't been as hard this year? I mean, I know we've had a few moments, but I mean, they've been quite water-based, haven't they? Which I'm sure isn't much fun. But it feels to me like there's been a little bit less of the sort of cockroach rat action.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things I've noticed that have changed over the last years. They do seem to get a lot more food these days, and it does appear that some of the challenges aren't as fearful as they used to be. But you know, challenges are interesting. You know, the trials that they do they are interesting enough to the public, and you know, everybody now, whenever they see a snake or a cockroach, they're pretty pretty hardy. You know, they seem to cope with it really well. So the fear factor isn't as bad as it was in the past when it first came out the program. Everybody seems to be well attuned to it, so they're sort of prepared for the nasties, the critters, and I don't think the trials. Yeah, they are good. Some of them are good, and some of them are quite easy, really. And I think that's been proven when you see some of the campmates when they go into them, they don't seem to have too much of a problem.
They don't. Now, you mentioned Boy George earlier and how you thought he'd been true to himself. Now, he was reportedly the highest paid campmate ever. And he kind of went in there and he behaved like a bit of a diva, didn't he? I mean, did you think he would stay in longer? I mean, I kind of get the impression ITV thought he might, given how much they paid him, reportedly £500,000. What did you make of him? He
was quite controversial. He said what he thought. He was true to himself and behaved how he felt would normally behave when he was at home. Whether you liked him or not, I thought he was a good asset within the camp. I mean, I'm not saying £500,000 worth, but at the same time, you know, I mean, he did a good job. I mean, no less than anybody else in that camp.
No. I mean, I don't know. I thought he might stay in a little bit longer, although.
I guess. I mean, it's like I said, though. You know, we see it all the time on the celebrity programs. You know, on reality TV programs, we see people going out earlier than we thought they would go out, or not justifiably so. And some people say, "Oh, that's a fix," and others will say, "It's, you know, that's general census of what the public feel."
Who are your final sort of? I mean, who do you think is going to go tonight?
I think the last 3 in there should be Mike Tyndall, Jill. I wouldn't put Matt amongst those last 3.
Owen,
on principle, yeah. But Owen definitely, yeah.
Owen's turned out. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, even I didn't know who Owen was beforehand.
Yeah. He's a good lad.
He's been great, hasn't he?
Yeah, he is. I like him a lot.
What fear did you find you had on I'm a Celebrity?
Or the campmates, really. No, when you go in there, when you go into the camp, you know you're going to be amongst other people, and the whole thing is they're life-size characters. I mean, the wonderful thing is you can end up bonding really well with some of them and making friends for life. I wouldn't say that when you come out, you know, your life goes back to normal. Everybody has their life to go back to, whether it be work, family, and friends. But it's just nice to have additional friends that you've met during the process of I'm a Celeb, and you know, you continually communicate on a basis where, you know, obviously it either moves forward or it dies its natural death.
And of course, they are people that aren't the kind of people you would ordinarily meet, are they? No. I mean, you know, someone like Mark Wright, you know, I can't imagine that you and him would cross paths, would you? Unless it was something like I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously another lovely eye candy in the camp. Mark really, I mean, was quite a cheeky chappy, and yeah, an Essex boy, being an Essex girl. So it was nice because at the time, Towie's been it was big, as a program that people followed, and his name came out above all on top, from The Only Way is Essex. So when I got into camp and he was there, it was quite interesting because my son, he was quite young then, loved to watch Towie. And I obviously, as mums do, you sit and watch some of the rubbish TV too. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I quite liked him. I thought he was a nice fella. I mean, I really enjoyed his company in camp. And also Dougie. Dougie was a bit lazy though during camp because he didn't like to do any of the chores. I don't think Dougie washed in the entire time he was in camp. So yeah, I mean, these are the things you have to get used to with campmates. I mean, everyone's got their different ways, and you have to embrace them, I think, and in order to get on and make things work for camp life for everybody.
So we both agree that Jill should be Queen of the Jungle, absolutely. Do you think she's got a bikini in her bag somewhere that she's going to put on and give us that shower moment we haven't had?
I love Jill very much, but I don't think we want to see Jill in a bikini, to be honest, because she never had any weight to lose when she went in, and I think that it hasn't been kind to her with the food rationings, and like all of us, I mean, in that age, Biddy or a young person who's very skinny, it doesn't look as good as perhaps as some of the most glamorous ones like Olivia would have been, or Marlene Klaas or Helen Flanagan. They all look good in these bikinis. I'm not going to say Jill doesn't because I've never seen her in one, but I would say, looking at her as I do at the moment, then I'll tell her to keep her bikini in her bag. She's a lovely girl. She doesn't need to do it.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Thank you so much for your time. And let's hope we're right about Jill, because I really want her to win.